To another video, Purple Political Talk here. Today is Monday, August 2nd, 2021, and today we're going to be discussing the 2021 California recall election and take a look at a lot of the different factors that are influencing this race. And realistically, what are the long-term effects for both the California and national Democratic parties in the long term? Because truly, this race, even though it may really not, even flip. It might not really, Gavin Newsom might not really get recalled. But the impacts of this race are going to be felt nationwide. But before we do begin the video, I wanted to remind you guys to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. And I also wanted to remind you guys that channel memberships are now open. If you would like to become a Purple Political Talk channel member and help support the channel as we are growing, you can press the join tab next to the subscribe button if you're on a computer, or just press the link down in the description to do that. So now, I also wanted to, give a very big shout out to our Purple Political Talk channel members, Adam Hurst and David Maxwell. We really could not do this without you. So now that we've gotten all of this out of the way, let's get started with the video. So for those of you that do not know, Gavin Newsom, governor of the state of California, is currently facing a recall attempt. So basically what's happening is that a lot of Californians, they were really mad with how Gavin Newsom was, managing the pandemic. That was the very big thing. That was the thing that most Californians that, signed the recall attempt and now are going to eventually vote in this recall election. That's one of the big things they were, protesting about, I guess. The Gavin Newsom's managing of the pandemic. And truly, that has become a nationwide issue in many states across the nation, not only in California. But California is the only state that has the recall attempt, as far as it has gone. And mostly it's not really because that many people want to recall Newsom, although these polls tell us different things, but mostly because California's recall system, the way that to get a recall is, it's really easy to really win, because you only have to get a certain number of signatures, which I think pretty easy to get if you get put in the effort like the Republican Party in California has. And then also, just to recall, you need a 50% threshold, which we're going to be taking a look at how we're actually getting close to that. And later in the video, we'll get into how this affects nationwide politics. But the current averages, has, the race, the no on recall and the yes on recall, with almost between less than 4 points of, difference. This is complete insanity. Because, I think at this point in time, what this tells us is, if the Republican Party puts in a little bit more work in the state of California, they could end up winning this recall election. And do I think the Republicans are going to end up winning this recall election? I think probably not. I think the chances are still in favor of Gavin Newsom. However, all of the most recent polls show us different things, that we're seeing the race be closer than it is. And if Gavin Newsom doesn't really, start campaigning hard, or, he's out there constantly campaigning, he might get recalled. I think at the beginning of the process, Gavin Newsom really dismissed this. However, I think at this point, it's really threatening, his gubernatorial term. So I want to take a look at the latest polls. And we can see 47 to 50 favor the recall. The recall is in favor of not recalling. The recall is still, a little bit behind. But little by little, it's, gaining more popularity. We see how this kind of went from a nearly 10-point margin, 9-point margin, to now we're seeing 5-point margin, 3-point margin, as we go from January, when the race was really dismissed by a lot of people. And now, as we get closer to the race, people and more people are choosing to, support a recall election. And I think it's something that's dangerous for the Democrats, not only in California, but at a nationwide perspective. Why? Well, I think this really just reads the environment in a room. If this is California, this is a very solid blue state. If this is the current environment, and I get that their gubernatorial, instances are different. Every state has a different governor, but at a nationwide perspective, I think that if a big amount, and we can see here how big of a difference it is. 38% of people voted for the Republican nominee in California. We can see that this time around 10% more of people, are supporting the recall, to making the race actually pretty close. So with that, I think that's something that we have to analyze is that a nationwide perspective, if you have 10% more people supporting this recall, I think that should tell us that the environment for the Republicans is a little bit more positive than people think. I do think that coming into 2022 and even the 2021 races that we still have coming up in Virginia and New Jersey and some other House races that we have, sprinkled around, that the Republican environment is stronger than people think. And I think it's truly because of COVID-19. As COVID-19 right now continues to worsen in certain states with the Delta variant, I think that we're going to end up seeing, the Democrats fall into some holes because we have to remember, what was the only thing that Joe Biden really promised when it came to his campaign? COVID-19 would be eradicated. Has it been eradicated yet? No. And it's in certain extent getting worse. Since COVID-19 has not been eradicated and, we can't live in a back to normality, status quo lifestyle that we had before, like Joe Biden promised in his campaign, that's going to have serious impacts for the Democrats come 2022. And I think this is just an example of that. How, the Democrats toughening of COVID restrictions without seeing real effects. We're going to see, a lot of a movement, I would say, similar to the Tea Party movement, where not really based on economics, but more COVID-19, going back to normal. I mean, I think the economy might also be an issue. I think that we're seeing some insane inflation rates that, we haven't seen in the past in the United States. I mean, it's pretty bad. But all those different factors, I think, are playing into this race, into the recall race for Gavin Newsom. And I think those impacts are going to be felt nationwide as well. I mean, I think this is the big thing. We have a 20-point margin all the way down pretty much. Well, not really a 20-point margin. Well, actually, yeah, it is. About a 20-point margin all the way down at 3%. This is completely ridiculous for the California Democratic Party. And I think Gavin Newsom is really taking this race as a joke. He's not really worried about it. He thinks that at the end of the day, California's California and they're going to end up voting for him. And I think at the end of the day, that's something that might end up happening. However, I do think that, this race certainly poses a threat for Newsom and his future in California politics. And if he does get recalled, I think that this would be one of the most shocking results that we're going to end up seeing. I won't really be covering this race that much as we move forward. I might just do an election night, election night, I like do a live stream or something. But I think mostly, with these results, I'm not really going to end up, covering too much because I think it's going to be an interesting race to see turn out because I think it's going to tell us a lot about the 2022 environment. However, I don't think that it's going to have serious impacts. I do think that the Republicans have a chance if they campaign hard enough and Gavin Newsom, sits back and does nothing, which I think there's going to be a point where Gavin Newsom is going to have to wake up and say, wow, I'm in imminent danger politically. So, yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys found it a little bit informative. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. And tell me what you guys want to see more of in the channel down in the comments. I think that would be great so I can get an idea of what you guys want. So guys, thank you guys so much for watching and goodbye.